This game shouldn't be compared side by side with previous Tomb Raider games, no. It would be best compared with Ninja Theory's DMC. Why? It's a remake that drastically altered the character and tone, and because of that, gameplay has changed into something a lot more modern. DMC's biggest flaw was that it was a change in direction for everything except for gameplay. They wanted to keep the feel of the original game there, but also they wanted to open it to new audiences. What did they end up doing? Make a very watered down version of the original DMC fighting system. That was a serious mistake. Right from the start, Crystal Dynamics have shown this is gonna be a total reboot. They certainly did a better job by adding a completely different feel to gameplay, but kept certain features that made Tomb Raider popular in the first place. These features are platforming, puzzle solving, and shooting guns. These points were fundamental to the original franchise. Ultimately, it creates a fresher experience. I use that term loosely, but I'll get onto that later. The game's gonna be much too simplified for series veterans. The puzzle solving here is as difficult, if not easier, than the Arkham Asylum games. But Tomb Raider is accessible and it's very simple, anyone can play it, and in that aspect I think it's a good game. A lot of non-gamers are scared to play video games nowadays because, a lot of people are actually really hardcore about it. To be honest, it's pretty daunting. Many games with a long competitive legacy have had their sequels altering very little parts of their core gameplay. StarCraft 2 is a great example of this. Look back at the Harrison Ford Uncharted thing. Harrison Ford wouldn't be able to play StarCraft 2 or Street Fighter or arena shooters like Quake or Unreal. There's a lot of tough skills in hardcore games that you have to learn and practice, but they're not required in modern gaming. A lot of competitive games are struggling to get new players into their franchise. It's hard to make a game that appeals to the hardcore needs of vets and the simplicity for casuals. If you've been watching my reviews, you know me, I'm all up for bringing the old school bare-knuckle gaming back. But Tomb Raider is sort of doing the right thing, as much as I hate to admit it. The modern gamer doesn't have time to spend practicing their dragon punches hours and hours every day. They want a simple experience that can be enjoyed and beaten without having to slave away and work for it. I think this is Tomb Raider's strongest point. It's a very accessible game, anyone can play it. You might feel dumb playing it because it's super easy, but you know what? Maybe your non-gamer cousin would enjoy playing it. Maybe you can watch him play this time. You may have noticed that in my last video review, I absolutely ravaged DMC because it was a remake that was easy. That's because Ninja Theory promised us that it was the same old DMC gameplay and all we got was crap. It was very beautiful looking crap. At least Tomb Raider's developers said, oh, we're opening up to new audiences, giving an entire new experience. I expected it to sort of be like this. The sad thing is, this new experience isn't exactly new. It's a very safe game, and by safe I mean it's littered with things that are popular nowadays. Simple controls, easy difficulty, quick time events, third-person shooting, etc, etc, etc. But my biggest problem with it? The goal of the game isn't to raid tombs. In fact, the tomb raiding in the game called Tomb Raider is a side mission. Tomb Raider's story and script is severely lacking, and it's often really painful to watch. Worst thing about it is the pacing. The introduction is incredibly rushed, and the game is always treating you like you knew all the characters in the first place. I had so much trouble remembering the names during the beginning, and the plot moves so fast that you don't really get to enjoy the survival aspect of the game. And despite the fact that they said it's an open world game, you could probably beat it in like under 8 hours, which is about as long as Uncharted. The game is filled with overdone acting and extremely predictable, shallow characters. It's your typical "is this island really haunted" story. A game that I was hoping to be about strong, independent women has a damsel in distress as its main plot point. Speaking of that damsel in distress, to those who played it, what the hell was up with those camera logs, huh? The exposition Sam spouts out in the beginning of the game more or less ruined the plot for me. I mean, come on, I am the ancestor of the princess we're looking for. Oh yeah, and they had a samurai army. Come on, it's like so bad. I understand that you have to tease the ending so that the audience doesn't find the explanation of the finale completely and utterly random and ridiculous, but come on, couldn't you have played it better? Lara has none of the soul that Crystal Dynamics has promised us. We just got this person with no real qualities to her. I mean, honestly, if I had to do a character analysis on the new Lara Croft, she sounds like boring. She's smart. No, wait. She's knowledgeable. She's brave. Kinda brave, maybe, near the end. She's kind of nice, but also not really. She likes her friends. She cares about animals. And I think that's about it. I think. We really need a new, strong female protagonist for video games because I feel like it's sort of that time. It sort of needs to happen now. I'm glad this Lara wasn't sexualized so much, but come on, at least give her a personality. A British accent isn't a personality. The emotional aspect that you can feel from playing Uncharted can't be grabbed in this game. The only thing I felt was that awkward shudder when I realized that the game feels like an introduction into the gore fetish. Like, no, seriously, I'm not kidding. You know that kind of anime porn that has the girls getting like abused? Okay, not really abused, more like cut up and impaled and stuff like that? Oh, shut up, you know what I'm talking about. It's called Guro. Okay, Tomb Raider isn't quite like Guro, it's sort of like a softcore Guro, okay? It's like an initiation to Guro. You might think I'm sounding a bit harsh or I'm exaggerating, but I'm being serious, alright? Lara can die in a ton of ways, and they are quite brutal and disturbing, especially if you fail QuickTime events or the scripted sequences. She can get crushed, mauled, beaten, strangled, you name it. I don't know, if it was a man, I think I'd be okay with it, but it's not a man. It's a defenseless girl for most of the beginning of the game, and I mean, she's supposed to be a sexy video game icon, right? Or maybe my mind's fucked up, who knows. Regardless, I wasn't cringing or feeling bad because Lara was a good character. It's just because it looked nasty, like unnecessarily so. It's not a survival horror game, yet I'm looking and I'm seeing these things. Tomb Raider, like DMC, is sort of like a try-hard attempt at becoming nitty and gritty because that's what people like nowadays. People want gritty reboots and darker stories, moral ambiguity, anti-heroes, because it's unfortunately popular now. You know what else is popular now? Every single gameplay mechanic in Tomb Raider. So let's talk about gameplay. This game has almost everything you can expect from a modern day video game. Open world, third-person shooting with cover mechanics, really basic platforming, instant kill contextual melee, leveling up RPG mechanics, tacked on stealth mechanics, hidden treasures that unlock nothing special, weapon customization, a gritty and edgy storyline, QuickTime events, competitive multiplayer, and a bow and arrow. Don't get me wrong. Combat works, and it feels good. Stealth works a lot better than Uncharted, but it's still a bit tacked on. HUD at times is really cluttered, but other times, it's gone. It's immersive. It's nice. It all works, and it doesn't really glitch out. It's got a lot of polish to it, but not a lot of originality, unfortunately. Oh, and you know what else? The game's also easy to play. Tomb Raider is such a safe game. There's absolutely no risk involved. Everything in this game is so popular right now. How can you go wrong? Well done, Crystal Dynamics. You have opened the franchise to literally everyone. That's a good thing, as I said earlier, because it was sort of their objective. My problem with the gameplay was with the focus on survival. They wanted to focus on the fact that Lara Croft is a survivor. They wanted to focus on this so much that it's more or less the last line of the game. This isn't a survival game. It isn't even remotely close to experiencing survival. Need to keep track of Lara's heat during cold rain? Nope. Need to keep track of her hydration? Nope. Need to keep feeding her in case she gets tired? Nope. But what you do need to do is shoot a bunch of people. We don't want to make it too hard for the casuals, do we? I don't know which member of Crystal Dynamics tricked the rest of the team into thinking that breaking open boxes and killing animals to upgrade your guns was survival, but damn that guy. Yes, I said it, you can use skins and bones of dead animals to build various add-ons to your guns, like a better trigger system. And it's stupid, okay? Yeah, you can use crap you find off people and stuff you find in crates, but come on, why does killing animals even add to the salvage resource? We've got DayZ, Metal Gear Solid 3, Minecraft, Terraria, that indie game on Steam with the wood chopping. I mean, even FTL. These are all games that have a strong survival aspect embedded into their gameplay. Does Tomb Raider have it? No, it doesn't, and that's one of the most disappointing parts. An open world survival game with this level of platforming and control? It would have been a great idea, but Crystal Dynamics hasn't capitalized. Don't let the first 20 minutes of the game fool you. Once you get that pistol in the beginning, it's a complete genre shift. It just becomes an Uncharted clone up until the end of the game. Yeah, it works, yeah, it's polished, but at the end it's just another action shooter. No, it's not a survival, puzzle solver, adventure game. It's a shooter. At least it looks good. I can't wait for the next console cycle because then our PCs are going to be put to good use, am I right? This hair looks amazing. Tress effects looks so amazing that all the other characters in the game look like crap because Lara's hair looks so good. It's a bit glitchy and sometimes the thing goes all over the place and sometimes it disappears, but look, it's a new technology. There's nothing really like this out right now. Like Splinter Cell's cloth physics back in the Xbox era, it's new technology, like Crysis 3's grass. It'll get better. It's a taste of things to come. Too bad the optimization is incredibly poor, and video users will experience crashes and slowdowns, and up to this day of posting, I don't believe they have a fix for it. If you want to stop getting those crashes and slowdowns, you're going to have to turn off tessellation and this thing called exclusive full screen. No idea what that means. The slowdowns and crashes are actually pretty frequent, and it's going to ruin your experience, especially during QuickTime events and cinematics. Bad move, Crystal Dynamics. In terms of art and general graphics, yeah, it looks better than most games. It's not super fantastic, but it definitely nails the tone of harsh environment better than Far Cry 3. There's even snow. Far Cry 3 didn't have snow. Unfortunately, the lighting and shadow effects aren't put to very good use here. There are only a few moments where it looks really, really good. The rest of it, it's kind of lazy. It looks like they were trying to add a dynamic weather system or something like that in the game. During most maps, the lighting is really uninspiring and it looks quite drab and depressing. Or maybe that was the point. And wow, Lara's face during cinematic cutscenes, that looks terrible. She looks like she had plastic surgery. It looks really bad. What's weird is that in the promotional materials, she looks a lot more attractive. And in the game, well, she looks a lot less like this. You got tiny eyes, huge cheekbones, tiny nose. It looks really like... It's such a shame because the hair looks even better in cutscenes, where her plastic surgery face and most of the graphical slowdowns occur. Normally I turn off VSync because it gives me mouse lag, but for this game I had to turn it on. Just look at that screen tearing. Look at it. Lastly, I'm going to talk about multiplayer. Tacked-on multiplayer has been really common in a lot of single-player franchises lately. This isn't any different. It's quite bad. With only a small amount of maps and an obvious advantage if you're at a higher level, I question why this is even in the game. The multiplayer component even feels different from the single-player campaign. Movement is slow and awkward. There's even a combat role that wasn't in the single-player. It's terrible in every sense of the word. I don't have the time to get into it. Final points. I'm so slow at these reviews and I apologize. The game took me only 8 hours to beat, but the review took me this long to write. The game's alright. It's not that terrible, but it's not very good either. It's just about passable, and it's definitely better than DMC. The controls for PC are quite nice, except for the fact that the camera autocorrects itself when you're running forward. Not a good thing if you're using mouse and keyboard. It's a responsive action shooter, but there's nothing else beyond that. It's a good looking game if you want to test your system, but don't waste your money on buying this at its current price. Wait till a big Steam sale or something. I don't regret my time with Tomb Raider. I'd actually probably enjoy it if I didn't play it and got someone who wasn't a gamer to enjoy it instead. It's very accessible and that's its strongest point. I think they wanted a product that could get normal people into video games, and I think that's what they made. It's got its own version of almost every single gameplay mechanic that's in AAA titles nowadays. How could it have gone wrong? It just has. Terrible story and unoriginality plague a title that was supposed to re-envision a gaming icon's history. The theme of survival is constantly questioned because of the action-oriented gameplay and the simple fact that each column and tree falls in the right place, not due to her amazing survival skills, it's by complete and utter luck and coincidence. Tomb Raider was supposed to be Lara Croft becoming a survivor. Instead, all she did was become a shooter. That explains everything.